So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video update with me here today. It will be a very important one, and especially for those of you who watched the previous video on mastery and ascendant mastery for the journey and embodiment of physical ascension, which is of course my path as Polona Aurea Dawn. So after that initial video, I had a little inkling of doubt whether to actually share it or not, because things were still fresh and vulnerable. And still the guidance was pushing me forward to share the video. However, a day after, and that was yesterday, huge revelations came and a major breakthrough occurred. So what happened in the morning, because the moment we put that out, we put that intention out and we've gathered those thoughts, and the energy was still very heavy, it was still stormy energy. And I was talking to how the family of light since the whole week was telling us that there's a storm, that there's the energy of chaos present, right? So we already know, after years of breakthrough work, which is what I do as Aurea spirit through me, is we always have to move through very dark cycles and very dark energies that eventually will lead to a new revelation. And for me, it always has been like this since the past few years, that new guidance won't come until we create another breakthrough and another shift. So what happened with this one was that it was really tricky, because after all that I've shared and the insights that I got and the push forward and the push through, the message was that only later, after we go through a specific phase energetically, the crystallization of why certain things came out this way and what was the real guidance and what it actually served for will be intentionally known. And only later we will know. So towards the evening on that day when I posted the video, the energy kind of went away. And again, I didn't know what was the truth. What's the truth? What's the lie? What's the truth? What do we do? Do we stay? Do we go? And I was so confused. And when the energy of the confusion is there, there's something you need to know about illumined beings and our illumined mission quest. It's not that I as a person now am confused. And today we're going to talk about different levels of mastery. This will be even more advanced awakening. And I think it will help those of you to push you forth on your own self-mastery path, because I already shared with you that my videos are nothing but stories for people who are unaware, unawake, and they don't know what even I'm talking about. So skip the steps. And for specific people who feel called to this path, these videos will help them, because it will help them to accept certain things maybe about themselves, the way they are, and the way we actually on this planet of duality move through both cycles of light and the dark. And sometimes the energy is tricky and the devil will play with you unless you're very, very aware and very wise. So when the energy is stormy, chaotic, and confused, our entire team has to be in a state of confusion. And only later, when I did another breakthrough, we performed another breakthrough in the next morning, that was Saturday, today's Sunday when I'm recording this, is they were telling me that sometimes we have to play a fool, and that's how we often got the darkness, that's how we serve God. Remember, what's happening on this planet is a demonstration of light versus dark, and it's called the Great Reversal Work. And this prophecy was received by me this year when I had my shift in March timeline. That was my final shift through the transgression work. And all the way up to this stage, I was performing collective transgression work, revelation, release through my body as these electrical surges, as these waves of attacks were being dispelled and discharged. But what I'm being shown now through this work specifically is that now I'm entering, or we as my family of light, we're entering a stage when all the life force within myself, cultivated within and through my body, will be used for my own personal physical ascension journey. So even all the videos I'm going to be sharing will be about that, because I've gotten many insights. And even yesterday, after all of this breakthrough we did, so much guidance came pouring through, and it always has been like this. After a darkness, huge wave of light. And that's the work. That was our Illumined mission work, because this is not a standard classic spirituality. It's not even a standard mastery. It's an even more advanced level of mastery. And the reason why I need to talk about it is for people to see what's happening at even higher levels of intelligence that exist here, so people don't become too deterministic about their path and limited in their choices of life, okay? And this is the reason why I do the videos, not to make people step into be like I am, because obviously that's not possible, but for people to be aware. And after that, yesterday, profound channeling came through, and I've gotten this deep automatic writing, another prophecy of God, a revelation that I will share in the next video. But today I'm actually here by the white waters, and since it's such a beautiful energy, we had to come here again because our bodies were really tired, because our week was tremendously difficult. So we came here, and first in the morning we did this walk towards the village where I used to live before. There's a route, a mini path by the water, by the sacred river, that takes you from this spot in the white waters, this wilderness area, to the village. And we came to the river, and I actually had a feeling of saying goodbye to these lands. And this time it wasn't just goodbye and moving to the next stage or the next city or somewhere, you know, but it was actually about leaving vertically, you know, ascending physically. And I channeled this. I knew that I have to sit down and be with my elven beings here. I have a whole group of beautiful beings here. And I've summoned up through the song, and I was actually, you know, my songs, when they come through, they're very automatic. I just sing them. I don't know what the lyrics will be. Someone recently asked me, do I have these lyrics? I'm like, no, I just sing. It's channeled through the voice of the mother, through Aurea singing through me. So I was singing, and the lyrics specifically, I don't remember all of it, but the major importance was on the words that every single stone that laid before my path was turned over, and now there's no more stones for me left to turn over. That it's basically telling me I've done it all. I did it all that I was supposed to do, and more. I said I did it gracefully, and I accepted further challenges and more. So now, with no more stones left to turn over, now the last thing for me to do is return home, because you have to know the essence of God. The key to this life, in this universe and beyond, is union. Is these tantric beloved couples who need to be together. They are of the highest importance in this creation. And in one of the videos that will dedicate specifically to that topic, because the whole guidance came through, I was writing about it on Patreon already, but I need to share publicly about this beautiful state, because this is not just physical ascension, you're going vertically. This is a union. And I need to describe the vision and prophecy, how this is to happen for beings who are at that level of advancement. And we're going to have that video too. And I promise that until the last moments that I feel called to share something, I will put it out there. But at a specific point, I just won't be called to do any more sharing. And that will be usually indicated that it's my time of only preparing to leave back home. And it's very close, okay? That's how I feel it. There were many choice points in this reality that I felt called to do. There were openings that many beings, live beings, were hoping for. Some of them didn't happen. So as you're going to see in the next video, when I'm going to talk about the prophecy, why specific things were given as different options. But unfortunately, because energy of darkness is still so thick in this realm, specific beings weren't able to open up precisely so. So there were many levels of this plan, and I've seen it already this year in the beginning, that basically the highest point was not chosen, but we had to end up with what they call the last resort, and we're going to talk about this in the next video. But the reason why I need to do this first is because you need to know how breakthrough work looks like. So what happened, right? If you watched the previous video, if you haven't, please do so, because otherwise this won't make sense, right? I've talked about how in that moment, a day before, that was on Friday, the energy was still very much shifting and dark. And you have to know, when the energy is like that, you're not going to get clear answers. I never got energy, when the energy was like this, I never got clear answers. It was always in the mix, and it's like swaying. And even this whole notion of this polarity playing out, this game of Illumined Union being played out here, it was like a game. And darkness has specific rules it needs to follow and obey, and the light has. And when they meet and merge, there's going to be, before another breakthrough, there's going to be insecurity, and it's like a shaky nature before the next unfolding. So that was that day on Friday, and you know, it was very insecure, but actually very in a secure way. As a master self, I accepted the fact, okay, then we leave and we sell the house and whatever. Something within me, when we released that, when I made that choice, dropped completely. The burden of all, you know, because this house, as I told you, at specific levels was a burden. But what they showed me next is they said, remember that every single time you created something with the powerful intention of your mind, like you literally believed that's the next step. The darkness also believed that this is it. And so they were telling me this is how we do the reversal work. Darkness believes because you believe, and you give with all of your body, with every single fiber of your being, you give the impulse. That's my next step. And this is the more advanced level of mastery, not just choosing, like I said, a master, a sovereign conscious being needs to know the power of their choice, that they have the freedom and liberty of choosing as a sovereign God self. However, that choice must not come at the expense of another being. You can't harm another being through your choices, which many people in the New Age confuse, and they think I can do whatever I want because I'm God. No, that's very, very low consciousness. You have to know the intertwined nature of it all. You have to know love. You have to choose. So it's not enough just to choose sovereignly, but to choose sovereignly through love. And that's why I was saying you need both divine masculine and divine feminine principles, which is the integrity of the sovereign self and the mastery of surrender through love and into love. So what happened on that day, Saturday, was yesterday morning. I flipped out because I had enough. I have enough of this deception, everything. What is the truth? What is not? And what I did, I have these Sacred Braille Telech cards, and these are my favorite cards in the whole universe. If I didn't have any other cards, which I do, I'd be fine with just these, right? So I literally was so upset when I had this Aurea fierce energy moving through me. I threw the cards into our window pane, which is huge, right? And literally all the cards fell. I picked them up, put them back. I did I was actually joking yesterday because when people see me now doing these videos, they don't see what all I have to go through, and I had to go through these years. How much screaming, putting the energy out there, how much vehemence had to come out of me for me to do these pushes. It doesn't look pretty. I told you, it's an ugly energy. It's how you excavate the dark. You have to be very much in that fierce energy, and it doesn't look pretty. All my liberation work was very ugly when it was that time being, when you literally, instead of succumbing to the darkness, you free it with all your being, because you need to use the power of your voice. Sometimes that voice is very angry voice. And people who are judgy in the New Age nature, they don't know nothing about this. How the energy of God is the life force moving towards its next level of advancement and for the highest good. So in that moment I had enough, and I'm pissed, and I keep screaming, and sometimes I would throw something, right? And I'm in this fierce Aurea's energy that if I made a compilation, I was joking with my beloved Florentina companion, and I said to her, you know, if I had every single moment of my breakthrough work and my pushing through the barrier of the dark, if I had that on the tape, I've had it done video, and I put it together in bloopers, and that would be kind of like my final cue. Guys, I'm ascending, but now here's my last gift to all of you. Here it is. People will think I was crazy because people judge still so much. They don't know this work. They would look at that thinking, is that a joke? And no, it's not a joke. It's real. That's what I had to go through. There was times when I literally ended down on the floor. But that's the trick. You know, it's kind of like the trickster, playing with the energy. How you play the trickster, you come in the trickster energy and you mimic the energy. That's truly like that galactic shamanism, it's called, right? That's like higher beings have this intelligence. But in all my years of just being the human self, I didn't know until I actually was connected with my family of light completely on all levels. And that was only when the transgression work was complete. So I had one of these releases and breakthroughs yesterday morning, and I dropped the cards. Put them all back, and then a while later, right, I go to the bathroom or something, I come back, and there was one card waiting for me on the desk. My mom put it there because the card was still there. Guess which card it was? The card that in that beautiful deck, which summons up all the energy so perfectly, was deception. It was the deception card, and I knew what it was about. So I went out in my elven garden, I sat down with my beautiful master team, and I just started channeling. And they were laughing, right? They were laughing like, see? They were saying to me, like, who's the glorious ones? Who knows exactly what to do, right? So in that moment, they showed me I needed to put that energy out. I'm selling, I'm going, I'm leaving, because literally I am leaving. It's just not leaving through effort, because when I went through physical steps of the equation, I saw that I'm not going to go and create another looping cycle for myself. When it's just the two of us, not finding a place to live and being encircled, right? That was the first step. And I'm going to tell you all the revelations during that transmission they gave us yesterday, because it's very important for everyone who's going to be a really, really conscious master of self to know these things. And that's the reason for the videos. It's out of love. It's not out of preaching and, you know, anything like that. It's not in my nature. So in that moment, when I needed to be in that energy and said, this is what I'm choosing, yes, without fear, without a doubt, yes, fine. Even my cards, you have to know, the energy is so intelligent that that day, all in my card was about moving ships. Even in the coffee cup a day before we had at Aurea, and the team was like Noah's Ark, right? They were moving. I was like, okay, that's that, right? You know, the energy already worked like this. It was all working in our favor. And then they gave me this sentence of conscious creation, which is step-by-step creation. And they said, the future is created from moments of the past that anchor the energy into the now. Which means mastery is being in the now, anchored into the now. So in the moment, you have to feel exactly as if this is so. How do you feel like that? Most people with the looping mind, you're not able to feel like that. You have to deceive the trickery of the deceived mind. How do you deceive yourself, right? We talked in the previous video of mastery, how to overcome yourself. Remember, I was given the inkling of the story of the Buddha just before he was completely enlightened under the tree, when all the entities were trying to attack him, like, and he was just like, The same is in the Matrix movie, I believe, in the final ending part, right? When Neo realizes that all these agents coming at him, that's all an illusion, and he totally unifies with it all and breaks the code, cracks the code of the Matrix, right? There is no such thing. There's only you needing to overcome the self and remember your mission and overcome the looping mind. How do you do that? Again, I'm going to read you the sentence for the mastery, step by step, they said. The future, which is where we're going, which is our mission aim, right? Is our ascension and moving to the ascended realm. It's created from moments of the past. So every day when you're like this is the past. This is not even the now. Every time you're like this. Most people live in this state. I know people who live only in this state. Sometimes they have moments of epiphanies, but they quickly go back to the looping mind. These are all moments of the past. But the future is created when these moments of the past, you can pull the energy, these moments that you can anchor the energy through them into the now. And the now is the body as the only true sovereign. And when I talk about being in the body, people think, oh, she's so physical, she's not in spirit. I'm talking about bringing spirit into the body, my dears. I'm not saying you're only flesh and that's it. Be in the body. That's all there is. No, I'm saying bring the spirit to the body. Last time I'm going to read this because it's so important. The equation of the key to the mastery. The future is created from moments of the past that keep anchor the energy, that can anchor the energy into the now. Mastery is being anchored in the now. Step by step, and everyone else talks about it. Be in the now, be in the now, and it's almost like become this another hazy mantra, but you don't consciously, practically know how to do it. What illumined beings do, we do it practically. So they would engage with my mind. The only way for me in that moment, for my physical body to let go of something, if it's a deception, if it's a distortion, if it tries to keep me cycled and looping, the only way that they can liberate me is that I totally give in and say, yes, then I am moving. Yes, then I am doing this. Yes, then I will be with this person. Yes, then I will do that. Fine. And even if that is not the truth, remember what they said. Go back into last year in the summer months. I shared a video that's called The Exclusive Impulses, Illumined Guidance Through Impulses in the Body. I talked about Illumined Guidance, which is you are being impulsed through your body. That means the spirit needs to come into the body in the first place. Your mind cannot and never will receive these higher impulses that are divine intelligence. Okay? So this is the key to conscious creation. You know how many people say, I want to be a conscious creator of this reality. And then they're reading these books like The Secret and stuff. Get away from that as fast as you can. Because that's a hoax, you know. It tells you create with the mind, create with the mind. No! You have to be in the body, but that means spirit in the body, and this is not done in one moment. there has to be many turnovers of the looping mind, many instances of this inner work, so that gradually your body is shifting. And with each shift in anchoring into the now, as a consequence, because this is actually a paradox, the body is more elevated. With each release of that which blocks you and hinders you and it keeps you looping and stuck, the body elevates itself, right? This is the conscious creation, and guidance is in each moment. That evening, we went and we did a prayer because we said, you know what? No more hoaxing. Now, we're going to have a huge discipline now. From now on, we're going to do our conscious transmission every morning and prayer each evening with the candle flame. Remember, the flame is so super powerful. Just staring into the flame bypasses the mind. It's not just, like something that our ancestors did because it was sometimes cold and dark because they didn't have light, like lights. No, it's ceremonial. And with this whole new modern age and all the technology, everything is so easy for people. You just turn on your lights. But we forget about the power of the flame. The candle is not just because they warmed themselves up or they needed light, right? Or to read or something. No, there was powerful invocation and intention in the flame of the candle, right? So when they said, what would we talk about already is the conscious creation. What is guidance versus the truth? The truth reveals itself through following through the guidance between the cycles of darkness meeting the light. And when they're integrated, when the next level of you is integrated, you can feel with the full self, a new impulse will come as an integrated, unified self. It's not going to be imposed just by the light, not just by the dark. I've been teaching this for years. It will be an illumined union impulse, which means the whole of you will feel, that's the truth. And after each breakthrough, you're going to have an outpouring of guidance, like I always talk about. It's like a water balloon popping, bursting open over your head. I have this constantly, and there's days that it's nothing, and just we need to hold the energy for the next breakthrough, and that's all we do. And it's silent behind the scenes work that most people won't see what it is about. And you can make these things up because it's real. And I've witnessed it over and over again since I started working with transgression energy, since I remembered what my true core purpose has been. And that before that, it was all just one big preparation. So now, when we ask for the guidance, guidance is always in the moment. Guidance is what is the highest thing for you to do in this moment, to be in alignment with the next step and the next and the next, so that the truth will come to you, the next wave of truth. Even truth as an ultimate, right? It's out there, but we need to know how to bring it down so we fulfill our purpose. There's a core truth, creation truth, sacred laws, sacred principles of God, and then there's the truth we need to follow through our path so our mission is completed until we then move to the next step, right? And we also need that part of the truth. But if you don't get that, if you don't even have that, then how will you follow through, right, with your entire purpose? You can't. So guidance is what you need, and it has to come by impulse, by that which is for the highest good, and to move you to the next step. People who are always in the looping mind, they can. So they're always stuck, they're always stagnant, they're always going back to the past and searching for answers in that which is already known. That's the low mind. That which is already known to you is not an advancement or in divine intelligence that will move you further into life. It's not going to ascend you. Remember again, moments of the past, that's what this is. So the guidance came through because, we had this animal problem. The guidance, when we did the spiral work, in my Sacred Spiral teachings, there are 7 Sacred Spiral initiations that are offered on my Patreon page. And I think the first or the second one already has this. I think it was the first one. The first spiral I ever did. When you learn how to anchor the golden spiral of the Christ, the mother's womb, into your body, and then you elevate yourself, you go to the golden sun, and there you meet with the illumined beings, and they're always going to deposit messages for you there, and there's a specific method they showed me. And in that unveiling, you will always get the right message through the illumined impulse. And in that moment, the message for us was simply as easy as, don't look at the door 1,000 steps ahead. But the guidance was, in this moment, get rid of your infestation problems and then pray for the next guidance. That was the guidance from God, and it was so simple. So they also told me this about the conscious creation. I have some notes. So even if our body is still here, right? We say the body is still in the prison, still in the matrix, still in the hologram. That's what we are. This is this world. If you don't know what this world is, and that this planet herself has made a vow, that was planetary sacrifice in a way, to agree. It was a divine agreement to serve as a planet for the final resolution and unfolding of this duality, which is not just duality, but also the Antichrist meeting the Christ. and organic intelligence of the divine illumined light meeting AI intelligence. So they said even if our body is still here and it's in the so-called, oh, we are in a specific outcome, or we're in a place, in a house, whatever, or we're alone and we want to be in a relationship, anything like that, right? Even if the body's still here, in this what's called old, it's still here. No longer desired circumstances and outcomes, what you say, these are results of my past choices, which is most definitely everything we're living now is a result of our past choices and actions. But even though they said we can, as a master sovereign self, already choose to move the energy, our life force elsewhere that keeps our anchor moving forward, and you keep on moving forward. It's so simple, right? And then in that evening, I pulled the Braille-to-Ledge cards. Guess which cards came out? Time, God, freedom, fear, and union. Union card for me is also Ascension card, because that's for me, it's the same. So the sentence reading itself out here was as obvious as day, as daylight. It is time for God now, for freedom from fear, and the time for union. Simple as that. The next day I woke up after the breakthrough. I literally wrote my guidance as another day, another way. Everything shifted that day. We no longer felt the timeline. We were like, oh, it was just another distraction. So they were showing me, as I said, the Buddha sitting in the tree and all these distractions that kept pulling you. But when you surrender to God fully, you realize that these are hoaxers. These are whispers, deception tactics that want to move you. So you end up looping again. And there was no one who understood how the looping works better than me, because we were so invested in this, because it was our mission. And we explored this looping phenomena from every single level and every single layer they've been sharing with me how it works. So always remember the Buddha's ascension tree, with the tree, right, is you're like this. It's symbolic. It's not just physical. Well, it might have happened, like with the tree. If I chose my ascension, would be looking at the mountain, somewhere by the sacred river, if I had a choice. But it's also symbolic for the roots, truly anchored. And you know what you know. It's that knowing. And they said the master is within. It is as still as life itself. So it is Buddha being attacked by all the demons and the voices and the whispers and the shadows versus the devil, right? But then we also had a coffee cup reading. Guess what it was there? A hill. And I was on top of it, like waving, like, hey, I made it, So it was interesting how this was. And the guidance was only now how to move from one state of being when you're literally pushed, kneeling on the floor, looping and cycled, and then to the top of the hill. It's very minimum amount. All you have to do, again, is to choose sovereignly in each moment, even if that choice feels weird. But you have to put all your energy, you have to believe it with all your feeling. And this is how breakthrough work happens. I had a session with someone who was so transgressed in terms of always was receiving the same deception, like these voices telling them, you need to be like this, you need to be with that person, until I told them, accept it. Say yes, fine, yeah, okay. Because all my breakthrough work was achieved like this. Only very, it's screaming out loud, Aurea's vehement ways. But that's just my way. Don't judge my way, because it's the right way for our group to do breakthrough work. But anyway, insights came afterwards, right? These are insights for self-mastery. And remember, a master is not a one that runs. You don't run. I used to run because at that point, I wasn't yet at the level where I am now. My body wasn't yet strong after all that I've experienced. 10 years of electricity running through me, buzzing me nonstop, being wired from all different angles. But for me, it was, as a spirit being of Aurea, I was strong enough. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew that because of who I am, I'm going to get out of it eventually when the time comes. But at this time, at this point, I wasn't able. So we needed to move out of that apartment. We knew it was inevitable, because I always knew that even when the time comes for ascension, I can't ascend somewhere in a building full of people and dark energy. It's like Sisyphus, right? Because when your energy, you come in an environment, and basically, we're going to go through this insight too. But everywhere you go, right, for you to be in the pure energy, darkness is a part of this realm. It is what it is. You can't say, oh, darkness will not exist when I go into this cave. It's energetic. It's imprinted. You can't escape it. You can't avoid it. You can't run from it, because you can't run away from yourself and where you are and why you chose to be here anyway, right? So in that simple knowing of no running, you realize that, like the Buddha, right? You won't escape anything. It's a part of this world. But wherever you come, there's going to be a debris, an energy cloud of something that you're going to need to purify. And here will come another powerful insight that I must definitely share with you here, okay? So, after the deception card, I knew it was a hoax. I just instantly knew it. And I knew, oh, of course. My whole body needs to feel, oh, that's what we're going to do next. Because the moment when we accepted it fully, that in cycle, like, you're not safe here, you're not, it's not going to happen, you're not going to be safe, you're going to have another winter of breakage and downfall and poverty and blah, 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 right? Because in this circumstances where we're now, it's like, you have just enough to live comfortably, but you don't have enough to, I don't know, have 20,000 euro for renewal, right? And the prices are going up. Why is this happening? Those of you who don't know yet the Illuminati plan, it's like there's people who researched it, right? The 2030 agenda. Get all the people as possible to away from houses, owning their own land and property, to many small buildings when we can, they could be shackled there like sardines, canned, and put them in these so-called smart gridded cities where you can basically control them. Smart money, smart cars, you can't go anywhere else but this specific distance. It's all there, and it's nothing to do with being smart. It's all intentional. And it's happening now because now even old people, they don't have money to rebuild their old houses, so they're selling them and going into these cramped apartments or in homes or whatever. It's all planned. You can't now even afford to live in a house if you're not super rich or you don't have lots of income, which means you have to work in the system. And we've known all along that for us, being just two women alone, it won't be easy because we're both off the grid, literally, right? We're not in the system. And to survive in the system, to be in the system, if you're not in a group or community, like spaces are in the higher realms, you're not going to survive for much longer. And we knew that. Both of us knew. And we knew if the things were not be chosen as the highest possible timeline here on Earth, that we won't be coming together as many soul families, groups, beings, teams. We won't be able to survive as each on our own because you're either going to live somewhere in an off-grid kind of reality, right? You're either going to be able to only support yourself in this kind of small apartment. You're never going to be only in your pure energy. There's always going to be other energies there, and there's going to be 5G around every single apartment complex, by the way. Everywhere. And how will then you say I'm off the grid? People who are off the grid, they can't even be there as alone. They're going to have to be mini communities. And I believe eventually there will be people like that in times to come. But we knew for our scenario that in this house is in bad condition that it is, and it was the only way we could afford a house like this. I mean, it was the only kind of house at that point because all the prices went up so far. And in that scenario, we knew. I foresaw it, that it's not going to be an indefinite condition. And we were even told, right, by masters, this is only temporary for you to set up your, gateway work again and be Aurea fully in the body. And I've done that now, and I know the dawn is nearing, and I know that there's a limited amount of time. We're working within a limited framework, and then we asked the masters, and they said, don't worry, everything is now, all the work is complete, so you won't stay there. Because our biggest fear was staying here yet another winter because it's not going to look good, right? So that deception, until we still had a little bit of that fear, was able to play there, right? So I'm going to tell you our realizations in the morning after transmissions that came. So they said it was all a deception and the devil's trick because it was a distraction to keep me off my ascension spiral because we are so close. They said, you're so close that they're going to try. They're going to try indefinitely until the very end for us not to perform this because in one video, I've foreseen the videos I still have to do. In one video, we'll specifically talk about this higher plan of ascension in terms of what our Illumined Aurea, divine prism of life creatrix will mean for the benefit of all. So they said there was huge distraction because it will, again, keep you in a loop. Because again, when you go somewhere and you go for a rent, there's another hand over you. You're not your own master. There's someone over you. And we've already experienced that. And for people who are like 3D people, that's fine. But when we were moving, and those, remember, we exchanged 6 locations before we came here. Darkness works through people. Darkness needs hands, right? They need hands to operate. And when people are not pure and they're still channeling darkness, like Jesus already said in his gospel of truth, darkness will find ways to get you through the people. So you might come and rent somewhere and it all looks pretty like in the beginning. That's how it was for us. Eventually, it wasn't until a few weeks that the problem started showing itself. And how they were using us and all these things. It was all dark. We couldn't have stayed there. It was Sisypheus, right? But the reason why it was so difficult, because we had to learn a lot of lessons back then, right? And how this works. Then, the most crucial guidance, in the previous video I said that our house was a source of evil. It was the root of evil. And then suddenly I felt this is not the truth. I felt this is not the truth, because you have to know, in this year, our house got so much, no matter how old and whatever in the state and condition it is, like energetically, it got so much love from us. Yes, in the beginning we were resisting it a lot, but then we released. And now this year I started doing the cultivation work. I was cleaning all the environment around it. I was even throwing away waste from other people that was still there, the quarters of the dirt. I did my elven garden there in the back with the spiral. I did my garden there with my plants and flowers. Like everything, so much love went into it. Now we put our mother's painted stones around. I've literally now even put my feminine and masculine wands there at the peak, in the peak of the fence, when you're looking at the highest mountain of our country. It's amazing. I just had this impulse, put it there, put it there. And I have this painted portrait of masters, like Elohim master presences, Aurea, and like my highest spirit counterparts. And it was still there somewhere in one of the boxes. And then the voice was just like, put it out there, liberate it from the box. And I put it on my nightstand. So they said, this house is not at all a source of evil anymore. Your love already transformed it fully. They said, look for clear evidence by comparing it with how it was last year. Remember last year with all the housework we needed to do? There were people, evil rats coming here because they were able to, because the energy was still pulling people that, like here, They said animals are not evil. Animals are neutral creations. And yes, they might be when the energy is dark. That was literally happening now when the stormy energy, animals were acting crazily. So much. And the whole night you couldn't sleep. Because the animals just follow, again, with the energy currents as they're currently playing out at present. But they said, look with the comparison with last year. There's just people wandering into our house and strangers. And it was such a weird energy. And it took so much work. They said, if an illumined being does not change the energy, then who are you? And then reminded me again of an indication of my creation angel purpose, which is not to be in the light. No, they said, my purpose as always is to move into the darkness, and I've lived in probably the darkest corners there ever were. And then do the reversal work there to demonstrate this by us as the Illumined family. And that's how we are doing the great reversal work, by deceiving the devil herself. And then the family gave us a message that sometimes they were like winking at us. We must play innocently naive, like little fools, confused, so that the devil will think that it got us. And just as the devil thought that we fell for it, actually, we will do another reversal on them. So they said, who's the boss? Who's the master here? The devil or those who serve God as the Holy Trinity of life? Who wins every single time over and over again, because God will demonstrate everything to darkness. And we are just a part of that God's work. We're a branch of this work that does this great reversal and liberation work. And there's many, many ways that through God works, and through many people who are people, chosen ones of God. We're just this branch of highly advanced beings, and I'm just honored to be in their presence and to do this work. As difficult as it was what it was. And they were reminding us then that all that is physical is actually an illusion. The energy of light versus dark is always here, everywhere. And if we went somewhere else, it would again just be another Sisypheus, another energy work of previous people, previous owners, whoever was there to clean. They said, you already did this here. Do you want more of that? They said, you want more of that? He said, you've done it all. And today I sang it in the song. Every single stone I overturn. And the house is not in a good state. And yes, financially, this wouldn't last. This wouldn't be able to last much longer. And we don't have physical assistance. We don't have a masculine energy that would always be very much, for women in our condition, be, needed and required for that. But because there were specific choices that could have happened and occurred, but they didn't, because, you're dependent on the choices of another being, let's say a masculine. They said everything shifted now, so the choices were like this, and we're going to talk about those choices in the next video, right? But they said, remember, evil will be everywhere because it's fully merged with the 3D hologram until we're here. The only way out, they said, is in. Until you're running and thinking you're going to get something better somewhere else, while being on the Christ path, you're going to see no. Eventually, you're going to have to find your resting spot where you will dedicate this spot to complete and final transfiguration of your making, which will eventually be your Illumined Union and Ascension. So then God's words, through my spiral work that we then did, through the meditation, and I saw them clearly. It was more of a knowing, but I always see God writing with golden letters in the book of life. And God said this to me in that meditation. The repented ones will repent. The transgressed will be elevated because I am here. I've arrived. That's what God said. Remember again, the only way out is in and through. To move through the darkness. People who are still avoiding, running, don't want to confront the darkness, don't want to confront the inner shadows, demons. You're going to stay in shackles until the last moment. And remember again, God is... In the next video, you will see through the prophecy and revelation I will share about the plan of God to move everyone out of the hologram, out of the hijacking of darkness. You will see how beautiful and merciful our true beloved God I am truly is. So lastly, I will read you the words again, what God said to me, and through that prayer, spiral work transmission. The repented ones will repent, and the transgressed will be elevated because I'm here, I've arrived. The last thing I want to read you is this. Before we go into the next video next time, there's going to be just amazing. I'll read you the creation story that I received and the great reversal work and the add-on I just got this weekend. Then the next words came from my own beloved union counterpart. He said, it won't be long anymore, my dear. The time is dawning. I'm here. Don't let anyone or any distraction tell you that because of this and that, which is literally, I can't feel you because I'm always having this, the physical 3D challenges. That because of that, you're not free and connected to me always, at all times. The deception that ascension is difficult and hard must go. Ascension is the easiest and most natural movement, as easy as breathing when you follow the currents of illumined life force from God. The only difficulty lies in the remaining organic breakthroughs that are needed for ascension, and so it is. So I'm going to talk more about this because we then did a reading and we received a higher ascension, like how ascension is unfolding, how you go through the gates and all of that. It was in a very playful mode that was all received yesterday. I'll do this week a video on Patreon for that. This will be called the Ascension Experience. But they were telling me that it's not that now we do this and then we can start ascending. They said every single thing, this is ascension. Every breakthrough, every cracking of the deception, of distraction, of like barrier is ascension. Until eventually the last barrier is just this body that, prevents you from moving to the next ascended realm experience and to have a full union with your spirit counterpart beloved. So the insight was that so far I was doing the collective transgression breakthrough work, but now I'll be using my spirit life force for personal ascension breakthrough work. Anything else for now, for me, additional toiling that the darkness will try to make me believe I still have to do will be a distraction, a hindrance, nuisance, and deception. I've done all that I could and all the collective mission level work, and now the time has come for my own ascension, resurrection work, and the full surrender to God, how this would occur. And when. The when is literally more, like metaphysical, because in truth, there's only how. Time in that physical time is an illusion. There's only cycles of time. And so the how is moving through these cycles as they must play out. But they were showing me today, there's specific cycles that could have happened. Like our presence here of illumined beings and in my embodiment could have been longer, but because it is also each side being needs the support of fellow beings, and if they don't have that support, we eventually also have to eliminate ourselves and go onwards because there's nothing else for us to do. And our work was to move the energy from the highest possible probability, possibility, and eventual manifested reality to the last point of what they call the final, it's like a last resort. So where we'll continue. It's a very important channeling that I think you just have to be there and be with me when I read it. I'll do that next, and until I see you and meet you again, enjoy, and I hope this video was helpful at the level that you were able to receive it. So if you feel called to join me on Patreon when I will talk more about this. I already did 3 video parts this month, but more to come. And I'm excited to talk about this. And as always, I'm always going to talk about where I currently am until the timing comes when it's just time to go. So thank you, my sweet beloveds. As always, so much love is in power, and I'll be seeing you next time.